Welcome to this guided meditation focused on embracing responsibility for improving your own fortune. Find a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down. Close your eyes gently and take a few deep breaths, inhaling through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Let each breath create a sense of calm within you. Imagine a warm, golden light surrounding you, creating a cocoon of positive energy. With each breath, feel this light entering your body, illuminating every cell. Sense the tranquility as you center yourself in the present moment. Visualize a mirror in front of you, reflecting the essence of who you are. As you gaze into this mirror, recognize the inherent power within you, the power to shape your destiny and improve your fortune. Allow a sense of this empowerment to grow within, acknowledging that you hold the reins of your life. Envision a garden within your mind, representing the landscape of your fortune. Take notice of the thoughts that occupy this garden. If there are weeds of doubt or negativity, visualize yourself uprooting them. Replace them with seeds of positivity, watered by the belief in your ability to create positive change. With a clear mind, set an intention for what you wish to improve in your life. It could be a specific aspect of your career, relationships, health, or personal growth. Picture this intention as a bright star in the sky, guiding you toward your desired outcome. Now, imagine a set of scales before you. On one side, place any excuses, blame, or external factors that you've carried. On the other side, place the intention you've set. As you do, feel the scales rebalancing, symbolizing your choice to take responsibility for your fortune. Understand that despite external challenges, you possess the inner strength to shape your destiny. Imagine yourself taking deliberate steps toward your goals. Each step resonates with determination and purpose. See a path unfolding before you, paved with opportunities and growth. Embrace the journey with an open heart, knowing that your efforts are laying the foundation for an improved fortune. As this meditation concludes, bring your awareness back to the present moment. Feel the ground beneath you, the air around you, the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Express gratitude for the power within you and the steps you're taking to improve your fortune. When you're ready, gently open your eyes, carrying this sense of responsibility and empowerment with you into the world. Remember, you have the ability to shape your destiny, and by taking responsibility, you step into the role of the architect of your own fortune. Okay, well, I wanted that to be an opener to get us into a frame of mind thinking about, fortune and what it brings us, but also what we bring to it, of course. We being the architects of our own fortunes. I named my tarot deck the Lucky Fortune Tarot Deck. And because it has a nice sort of fun ring to it to me. It reminds me of old, amusement shops where you'd go and you'd find trinkets and toys and things and maybe little fortune-telling gizmos. And I like the name. It gives it a lighter quality. I get sometimes a little on the bored side with super serious tarot decks that are, the tarot of the spirit of everlasting eternity. I did Lucky Fortune Tarot. That's my tarot deck. And it has tarot should be fun. It shouldn't only be about meditation and solving our problems. It should be fun. There should be an entertaining quality. It's entertainment. Tarot is entertainment, after all. Most of us who do tarot always make that clear, for entertainment purposes only. And, there's a reason for that other than trying to make it clear that we don't have the ability to tell you what to do, what to invest in, how to spend your money, where to spend your money, who you should be negotiating with. Or what decisions you should make legally and otherwise. We don't have that power. We can't do that. That's why tarot readers say for entertainment purposes only, because you don't want to imply to people when they're in some sort of a crisis or in a moment of severe doubt when they need help making a decision. You don't want to pretend that you can make that decision for them, or that you can pull an answer out of thin air on a card and say, this is your answer, this is the way to go. No, that's not what you do. And most tarot readers aren't licensed to do that kind of things. And we do these things the way you pick up a book of philosophy, or you read about a religion. You get into a spiritual frame of mind. You get into a philosophical frame of mind, even a psychological frame of mind, where you're thinking about improvement, and you're thinking about things in a way to try and give yourself more enjoyment, and you feel more secure and safe in your own self and your own decisions. And that's what we do as tarot readers. We approach it the way a friend would come to you to offer you, support. But you're bringing this set of images. You're bringing a set of ideas that you have put onto these images, and you're using those images to sort of define and clarify what it is you're saying, or to help the other person clarify their own perceptions and ideas. That's what tarot does. It gives them a window into not what some supernatural force is telling them, but into their own ideas. It gives them a window into their own mind. Sometimes we forget how we really feel about something. We get confused by external, what other people are telling us or expecting, or what we even have built up to expect of ourselves. And sometimes we get things wrong, and we get all obligated to some silly idea we have. And tarot is very good at kind of giving you a little opportunity in a moment. You're looking at some cards and you're going, oh, yeah, maybe I'm being silly here. Maybe I'm overdoing this. And they give you time to, it's almost like you let your guard down when you do tarot, and you look at these images and they kind of give you a little permission to get yourself off the hook. You're not obligated at that point to necessarily be correct. You're putting that sort of feel onto the cards, like, let the cards speak to me. But really, you're speaking to yourself. You are becoming clearer about what the voice inside is saying. That plays into the Judgment card in tarot. The Judgment card is all about hearing that voice, that inner voice. Can you live with what that inner voice is telling you? Can you hear it? Can you follow the sound? Can you follow it? Is it leading you down a path that maybe you've been afraid to go, but it's actually your real path? Judgment is very much about that card. So what I am sort of touching on here tonight in this first stream in months is Wheel of Fortune card and Judgment card. But Wheel of Fortune gets you thinking about taking control of that wheel, not just thinking of it as a luck wheel, as a spinning wheel that nobody has anything to do with other than fate. No, the Wheel of Fortune is a wheel. It's a mechanical device that you use, that you influence. It's not just a symbol meaning karma. It's a thing. That's why most old tarot decks show a thing. They show a wheel of fortune like a mechanical object that you can get your hands on. And tarot decks tend to get confused over time, and they add all these weird little symbols that nobody knows what the hell they mean. Little dogs and birdies and things, and weird and little shields with symbols. And it's like, okay, right. Sure, you know what that means. Like, most people just don't. They don't have any idea what those little things mean. And not only that, but they switch them around from deck to deck, and they make it so it's all just kind of up for grabs anyway. And what the tarot really is these basic images with ideas that are dreamlike in them. And if you get too particular about little symbols hidden in corners and boxes and circles here and there and little squiggles, you get down a lost path with tarot. You have to remember, tarot is these very sort of basic, fundamental pictures that are almost pulled out of our deep, primitive minds or the minds that have been sort of built up over these eons of time and different civilizations that have, our attitude about what is a sword and what is a cup and what do a set of scales mean? Why do we use scales for justice? What does a star mean in the sky? A single star leading the way. What is that all about? For me, it has a lot to do with navigation. Navigating, following, guiding, giving yourself to guiding and leading toward something, toward a goal, toward health, toward a positive outcome. Finding your way, the star card. Often these cards, like the star, very confusing to people because, they have odd pictures on them sometimes. And I don't always know what some of those pictures are getting at, even now. And I find myself sometimes trying to manipulate words or to get around these rather confusing images sometimes. The star card for me is, if you're looking at the North Star, or most people who are looking at stars, historically, they've been using them for navigation. And it's a very important concept, I think, to keep in the tarot. So overall, the tarot is these dream images, and rather than getting bogged down in individual little bits and pieces and what kind of a bird is on some shield leaning against a wall, those things are less important to me overall than the fundamental idea of the card. The overall idea of the card. What does the Tower card typically represent fundamentally? What does the Sun card represent? It's really not that difficult. The Sun card, the sun is warmth, light. It makes things grow. It brings life. When the sun comes out, we tend to have festivals and celebrate the coming of the crops, the plant, the spring, and very, very simple, really, and very fundamental to humans. And so the other thing is, these images in the tarot are very meditative. They lend themselves to meditation. You can meditate on a tarot card very, very effectively if you want to use it that way. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to proceed, since I've done my little guided meditation thing, I am going to open a cue and see how best to do that. And I'm going to turn this music off and put this music on. And then we will open a queue up. Okay. A queue has opened. Okay. Now, I am going to proceed to get my tarot deck ready for use. Now, this is, let's see, let's get it ready here. This is the Lucky Fortune Tarot deck. 78 cards of mystery. So, and on the back it has some info, about it, and But anyway, that's the box, and we can open it up. It comes with a little book inside that explains the whole thing, and then there's the deck. And let's bring it out. And it starts off that way with green. So there you go. Now let's begin some shuffling. Hi, T and Chris. How you doing? I've just pulled out the new tarot deck. This is called the Lucky Fortune Tarot deck. Lucky Fortune Tarot deck right here, 78 cards of mystery, blah, blah, blah. And we have begun. We're getting there. We're shuffling it up, getting rid of any possibility of an old reading being stuck at the top. It comes out. It's a very bright green on the when you photograph it. It's very bright. It's because I have big bright light up here over top, and it's pretty intense, So the idea here is now anyone who would like a reading, just type that !join, and they'll go into the queue, and then I'll be able to pick that up and run with it. Oh, the reason you haven't seen this deck is because it's my deck. This is a deck that I worked on for a year, and it was just printed a couple months ago, and I've never really gotten into using it other than for my own readings, but it came out very well in the sense that the cards are the card stock is good, and they tend to shuffle really well, which was one of my big, that was one of my big concerns was, did I use the right cardstock? And in fact, it seems like I picked exactly the right one because they have the right amount of bend. And so you can get them to, they feather in together very well when you shuffle, which is important. And, but anyway, the name of the deck is the Lucky Fortune Tarot deck, Lucky Fortune Tarot. And I was explaining earlier, the reason for that is I like a little bit of sense of fun in tarot. I like it to have that kind of not totally super serious quality. Although I don't really make a humorous deck. I make it has, the deck is by and large serious. I'm going to make it available for purchase. I'm thinking of different avenues for that. I know people tend to go on Etsy and do it initially as a sort of, and I could do that as a test marketing sort of thing. I'm not sure really, but in order to make the tarot deck printing viable, it has to be printed in large quantity, because if you don't do that, you're spending too much to print each deck, and then when you sell them, you can't make enough money if you sell them at a reasonable price. You have to get a lot of them printed, which means you have to be very, very careful about, you have to have a way to sell these things and distribute them. So that is sort of what I'm up to, that kind of thinking going on, which I haven't had a whole lot of time for lately. But yeah, I would love to do that. And I think initially I'll start selling them in a very small way and see if anything happens, if anybody wants the deck that way. And then see if I can expand it and get cheaper bulk printing. But you got to be careful with these things, because if you do bulk printing, then it sort of implies, well, okay, I'll take the orders and I'll ship them all out. And very few of us have the time to do that, because then you end up you're running a real serious grinding business if people start ordering your thing that you're selling. You got to be careful, but what you get into, because some people get into selling things and the shipping. Packing and shipping. Ooh. I mean, you can't do everything, so you can't make things and run the business and package them in boxes or envelopes and ship them. It's like, it just will kill you if you try to do that. You need people to do it with you. But you have to find out. I see, Tiang, I see you there. So you just have to be there. You go, you are up. So now what you do is, as on any tarot stream, you just write your topic or your question. You just, and I just make sure the cards are ready, and then I will do what I tend to do are 3-card readings. Yeah, it can become overwhelming if you're doing something like that. You're really better off, I think, having a sort of automatic fulfillment, where people order online and then the printer prints on demand. But see, that gets your price up, because print on demand can be very expensive. So, most people who are looking for a tarot deck really want to spend around $20. They don't want to spend $40 on a tarot deck. And if you're doing print on demand, it gets expensive fast, and you make very little money doing that, I've noticed. So you got to plan it. It doesn't really matter to me ultimately. I just My goal was just to make the deck, really. And then use it and just see what occurs to me after that. So you go ahead and you ask your question, and we will consult these vivid green cards. I'm pondering how to structure my life to allow more creative pursuits, especially through writing. So can the cards give me a jumping off point? Okay, the tarot's great for creative. Okay, let's go. Let's have a look here. And so the idea here is in structuring your life, it's so, yes, because we have all these things, these demands we have on us. Any creative person or anyone who wants to be creative, it might be one of those things where you're in life and you're doing a job and it keeps coming up in the back of your mind. I really want to make time because I know I could do something creative. I know that. I know I could write something really great. I have these ideas and I'm always so tired when I get home, or I'm always so distracted by this job or maybe even a second job. And it's just, how in the world do I do it? So tarot does lend itself to creativity. It's very, very perceptive in that area. So let's see. A jumping off point. Some kind of an inspiring way to get yourself going in the direction where it's possible to embark on creative projects. It's possible to figure out how to accommodate that urge, that drive in a complicated, busy life. That's sort of the feel I'm getting here for this question. So let's start. Let's see what we get at. Here's one. Here's a second. Okay. Let us have a look. Now, what we're doing is we have a primary focus, let's call it. It's a focus. This is a primary, a first impression. 10 of coins reversed. Okay. The 10 of coins, that's the realm of rather physical, often job-related. Coins are money, after all. Coins are what you need, what you have to get, what keeps you going. Okay? And it's the practical matters of life, the work, the body, the health, that kind of endeavor, to make yourself safe and sound and at home, job, finances. That's all in the coins card. Now, the 10 is always about finishing and getting through something, accomplishing and being just done and exhausted. Oh my gosh, I did it. It's just taken it all out of me. Let's celebrate. Let's go out and have a great bash and drink, champagne. And my gosh, it's been a hard one. But we've done it and we're ready to take the next thing now. What's next? We've did that. Huge accomplishment. Now, reversed means it's not there yet. And it means that there is some kind of that you're climbing the ladder still, trying to figure out how to get over the wall into the garden. I want to get out. The work, I can't get through it. I can't get the work done. I can't even get started. I don't know which way to turn. Things just aren't lending themselves to what it is I know I need to do. If I want to write, I need time. I need space. I need the ability to focus and sit down and get my ideas on paper. But all of this stuff around me isn't letting me. That's why the 10 is reversed. It's upside down because you just can't get to a completion point in some area of life involving practical matters and finances and work, and you can't get that over the hump where you can rely on it to support your creativity. It's not there yet. It's upside down. It's not in a point where you can give yourself a toast and toast your friends and say, we've gotten there, we did this. Now, that's not a negative thing. It's upside down because it simply means it's not there yet. It hasn't come to be yet. It doesn't necessarily mean you're not trying to make it get there. You're not putting any effort in. It doesn't mean that. It's saying keep your awareness here, because these practical matters causing this hesitation or, the jumping off point, as you phrased it, this inability to solidify and secure the financial or work, the practical parts of this situation, that up in the air quality of that, or the hard to deal with quality, is a hindrance. Now, let's look at what the suggestions are here for dealing with it. So down here, we've got another one reversed, 8 of coins, another coin showing up. Now, 8 is effort. It's applying what you have and what you know diligently to something in order to bring about the possibility for profound change. There's a lot of change in the 8. There's also the idea of very infinite potential in the 8. And its reversal means that there may be some difficulty in applying yourself to these practical matters around the idea of creating a jumping off point and a safe place for you to be creative. There are some problems here. There may be some hesitation to do the particular things. They may be a little scary or a little super difficult or something, but some hindrance there at application of skill, energy, and knowledge to practical matters, to get them sorted out, so that. And now we have another coin, it's the king. Okay, so what the message here is, and this is a slightly more important card than these two. These two tend to sort of come up and down almost on a daily basis. These can be kind of dealt with easily, not easily, but more quickly than this one. This one is a little bit more like a personal quality, or a built-in psychological quality. The King of Coins masters the ability to handle all practical matters, all things having to do with sustenance, gain, finances, the physical aspects of existence. So what this reading has done is it's focused itself on very practical matters, and it's suggesting that there has been some hesitation to deal with very important and difficult practical matters. And the cards want you to adopt the perspective of someone who has great skill, great ability, and to use that, to draw upon it and not resist it. So being creative often requires us to step into the role of what we sometimes imagine to be the more boring person, the person that can balance the checkbook really well, think about, earning a living for a while, that kind of thing. But not only that, it's not only about your job, but it's about the practical aspects of the creative jump-off point itself. There may be more things that you need to consider and to learn before you're able to really jump off into that creative realm. Those may be part of the practical issues here surrounding the creative act itself. What is it that you need to really figure out in order to do this creative energy? And this final card here is the one where it's saying, think about this one going forward. This reversed 8, where you're a little bit unable to apply yourself in some areas, that's a little bit less important because it's under the surface and receding off to the left. But what's over here is coming up. So it's saying, look, don't be afraid of being this guy. Let's turn him around. Let's make the king's crown show up right side up. That's what the card is saying it wants you to be. The king. Female, male, doesn't matter with king. It's just that energy. It's that control, power, authority, energy around what it is you need to do in a practical sense in order to be the creative person you want to be. Build the foundation before taking flight from it creatively. So the reading is all about overcoming hesitation and dealing with things that may have been left a little bit undealt with up till now. Lots of coins, I know. And coins. Sometimes I get put off by coins because they are so focused on fundamental physical things. The food, the stuff we need to stay alive, is in the coins. And this whole reading is focusing on those so much that these practical issues that you are talking about, needing a jump-off point, the reading is confirming that as being the issues. How to structure your life to allow more creative pursuits. And what the cards are saying is, figure out and draw upon your skills at figuring out very practical matters, perhaps job related, perhaps related to other things. Sort those out, and there lies the path to being able to say, okay, now I can see where I can jump off into spending time doing my writing. Sometimes these practical issues are school. I talk about jobs because I'm older, but for younger people, it can be school. It can be the learning, the education. Very, very important to handle things that you're doing and complete them. That's why you had that 10 of coins reversed in the top middle card. Things have to be brought. They have to be finished. Finishing things is important. Fully developing through things is important. That could very easily represent school. Anything that one needs to do, not just wants to do, to pay attention to those. Don't ignore them. And as I shuffle the cards again, yeah, these cards they're very, they have the right feel, the right weight to them. The deck weighs exactly the right amount. Like I've had some tarot decks. What is it? The Tattoo Tarot, I think. It's a little too heavy. Like sometimes people choose cardstock that's just way too heavy. And you can't manipulate the cards easily. You're welcome. You're welcome, Chris. That's thank you. Yeah, a lot of times people are nervous about reversed cards, but reversed cards are simply telling you to look at something a different way. You know, sure, they can have some negative connotations or meanings, but, you know, tarot is always hinting at following your true path and always hinting at a positive direction. You know, how to get there. One thing about designing a tarot deck, I found one of the hardest things to do is the back of the cards. It's not easy because, you know, you have to be careful about, do you want to use a pattern or do you want to not use a pattern? If you don't use a pattern, then some people hesitate not to use a pattern because then you can tell when a card is upside down before you even turn it over. You can tell just from looking at the back. So I made my cards sort of, they are not uniform, they're not patterned, but it would be almost impossible to tell if they were upside down. It would be very hard to tell. I guess you could, but it's just not that. It's not a strict pattern back there. All these little things you have to think about when you're making a tarot deck. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, all the little problems I ran into, like how do you get the border? Sometimes the border would be a little bit wrong, or like one part would be a little thinner than the other. Or it would bend a little bit in the wrong way, the border, because I didn't draw it quite straight or something. But it's so interesting a process. And yeah, it's just, and then when you're finished making a tarot deck, it's only part way there, because then you have to deal with these printers and you have to put everything together in the right way so the printer will accept it. And then one of the hardest things is the box. To make the box work, because they print, you know, boxes have shape, and the whatever you print has to wrap around the box and be glued to it so that the images that you want are aligned correctly on the different sides of the box. And so that's another thing. So printers have templates that you have to follow very carefully so that everything prints exactly in the right position. And what I noticed is sometimes the printers mess it up a little bit. Like you'll get the template right, and you'll get a test printing back, and it's perfect. And so then you say, okay, print 5 more, and then you'll realize that they send one, and the box, the image on the box is a little over, like just a millimeter over, just not quite aligned right. And you're like, well, I did my work correctly, because it's perfect on these other boxes, but the stupid printer, there's something is moving a little bit in their printer, in their printing press or something, and it shifted just enough to be like, I don't know. So you got all this stuff to deal with when you're making something, and it can be very, very exhausting. So it's worth keeping in mind if you ever want to make a tarot deck. And there you go. Jumping off point creatively. It's like all the practical matters that come in around the creative act. Very interesting stuff. But who's the great famous American poet? Charles Bukowski, novelist, poet, also crazy man, drunk all the time, but a lot of people know Charles Bukowski. But he used to, a very creative person, constantly banging away at his typewriter, right? But he would have agreed with the coins cards because that guy worked in the post office. Even when he was a known famous poet, worked in the post office sorting mail. And I think he even wrote a book about working at the post office. But that's the thing. Very creative person, famous for his creativity, and yet always having to deal with that boring, pain in the ass job. And he did it. And, what choice do we have? It can be very hard to be creative and constantly trying to figure out how to pay your rent, how you're going to get from point A to point B because you don't own a car, all that. It can be very difficult. And it can seem almost hopeless. Think about all the people that are struggling actors or people like that who, it can be very, very difficult to find their creative jumping off points, and they have to deal with paying astronomical rents, for a single room somewhere. And, they have to do it one way or another. Well, that's where sometimes the tarot can reaffirm that and sort of get us kind of feeling like, yeah, this isn't necessarily opposed to my creativity. It's perhaps essential to my creativity that I'm able to deal with these things. Like many creative movie directors, they are dealing more with very boring practical matters in order to get their movies made than they are with creative matters. They have to think about, whether or not car is going to be delivered, and they have to know that all the right things are available. Of course, there are other people whose jobs are to do that, but the director is the one who finally has to be, aware of whether or not that stuff is ready to film something. And so all these practical things occupy a director of a movie's mind. And they're very creative people, but they have to deal with, slogging through the irritating details and all the essentials before they can say action and try to be more sad. Next time you do the scene, try to be sadder and let your face express, they that's only a little bit of the job. So, creativity versus or along with practicality. I'm basically riffing on your reading. I'm like going on and on about the reading still, even though we finished it, but the cards are shuffled again. You know. Again, that's what I do. I just can't shut up about a reading. Once I get interested in a reading, I'm just like, so. Yes, the cards are all warmed up. They're ready. Oh, let me do something else. I'm going to do the, what do you do here? This crazy. Get it all sort of, jumbled. Yes. Merging the two things. Yeah. It's not always easy. Well, here's another one. A chef running a restaurant. And all of the finding supplies, making sure the freezer's at the right temperature, making sure the vegetables are fresh, going out and buying the vegetables, and dealing with the butcher, and oh my gosh, can you imagine it? And then the creativity of making the menu and deciding how to cook each dish. That's the creative moment. But of course, that moment of the cooking in the kitchen, of the designing of the meals for the restaurant, that comes after all the preparation work and all that to get a restaurant going. And what's the show on TV? The Bear. There's a show called The Bear that's doing really well and I watched it, about this guy who's a chef running a restaurant, and it's really well done. But all of the work, the problem I have with shows about restaurants, almost every show about restaurants, every show, every documentary about chefs and everything, they always show you, oh, I see. But anyway, they always show you the work in the kitchen and everything, and they never mention how restaurants, what's going on with the waiters and stuff. They never show you all of that. Hi, Gigi. I'm putting you in there. You're up. Tell you if your man misses you. If your man misses you. Well, let's pull 3 cards. Let's think about that idea of the person you're in a relationship with misses you. Well, he better. I mean, he better. Let's see. Let's look here. You know what we'll do? We're going to cut the deck right here. And we're going to bring out the 3 top cards. We're going to bring 1, 2, 3. Okay. Here's what we've got. You got the Ace of Swords standing out above everything. The Ace of Swords is, it's about conflict. I mean, that's why it's a sword, after all. You don't use a sword to send somebody flowers. It's about conflict. It's about thinking. It's about ideas. It's about beliefs. It's about, communication and conversation and how you're kind of interacting. Oh, okay. You want him to be... Okay, no, I understand that. Because someone... totally. I mean, if you know someone, you like them, you want to be with them, you want to kind of know, hey, we all hung out, we went to a party or something, we were hanging out. I want to know if this person thinks about me. If I want to know if this person misses me when I'm not around, and if there's anything, along those lines. Totally. And these kinds of thoughts, and, they can get... You can get sort of conflicted thoughts. You can get stuck in thoughts and go around and around and around. Now, the Ace of Swords, and this is reversed. The Ace of Swords upright looks like this. And so what this means is that, trying to think it through can sometimes be a little, you can get kind of caught up in one idea and get a little sort of limited in your thinking. And the card being there says, okay, look, listen, try maybe and not think about it in such a strict way. Maybe open up to some different ideas. Maybe there's been a little bit of a lack of communication, and that's why it's upside down. So maybe just very simple expressions or communication with this person, a few back and forths, might help a little bit. Nothing big, nothing super profound, because this is, after all, this is a number card, and that means it's just not that big a deal. It means that you can flip this around just by having a couple conversations with this person, So the card wants you to not worry too much about communicating with the person, not get caught up in your own thoughts, and let new ideas come to you instead of ignoring them, and just talk to the person and have some exchanges and a little bit more interaction, perhaps. That's what this card is hinting at. Now, over here, you have the High Priest. And this is a card on the left, so it's kind of underneath the surface. It's kind of there influencing things, but you don't have to pay a lot of strict attention to it. But the High Priest is all about kind of the idea that there are traditions, there are things that we kind of fall back on. There are beliefs sort of ingrained in us, maybe in you, maybe in this other person. We all have them. And sometimes we see them and we can learn from the High Priest. We can learn from someone who's aware of traditions and has ideas, maybe a little older. And so there's an instinct here, perhaps, to go and seek some kind of advice. And the advice tends to come in this card from someone who isn't necessarily super cool, hip, like with it, young. They're more sort of established and have experience, and they may seem at first a little boring. They may seem a little bit like, oh, what are you going to teach me? But what the card is saying is there might be a sort of an instinct in you to find out what someone with a little bit more experience thinks and observes perhaps about your relationship with this other person, what they might perceive there. Might be worth finding. Now, this card can also be a little bit sort of full of its own ideas. That's why there's a cloth strung up here. There's a stool and there's a cloth with a symbol on it. And so the priest may be like looking at this cloth and the symbol and not seeing what's behind it, the star, they might miss. But the card is right side up. It's not reversed. So it indicates that, in fact, you may find some advice helpful. It has a positive aspect when it's right side up. And it's saying, don't worry so much about somebody who seems a little boring and might have more traditional ideas. Let them be heard. Let their perception of you and this other person maybe just listen to them, hear them out, is what it's saying. And then over here you have the Empress card reversed. The Empress, right side up. The Empress is all about the richness of the garden, the nurturing. And what the card is pointing at is that quality in you, the nurturing self, the self that is very confident in love and everywhere they go, they bring this sense of everything is going to blossom. All of the flowers, all of the plants are going to grow. Nice rain and the soil nice and rich, and everywhere this Empress goes, they make everything grow and come to health. And the card is saying, okay, don't ignore that part of yourself. Seek it. The card is here on the right side. That means it's pointing at where it wants you to go. And it's warning you because it's upside down. It's saying maybe you don't quite trust this part of yourself. Maybe you're ignoring or forgetting this really rich part of yourself that makes everyone around you feel passionate. The Empress has tender, nurturing, but also passion. And there's great sort of, it's the life, it's attraction, it's relationships with people, it's love and affection and even sexuality. It's all of that human instinct leading in a growth direction, a positive, healthy flowering of life is what the Empress is always about. And there's her chair in the middle of the garden where she sits and rules the whole natural world, And the card wants you to not ignore that part of you. That's why it's reversed. It's not reversed to say you don't have it. It's reversed meaning don't forget this part. In fact, it's saying focus on that part. Because when you focus on that part, because it's a major card, this isn't one of the minor cards. This is one of the 22 majors. And that means it's a big built-in part of your psyche. And that relying on this, basically the queen of existence, that energy, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. It's that ability to find that nurturing spirit. It's the more feminine aspect of people. The emperor is the male counterpart to the Empress. It's a different kind of energy. The female part of this, and however along the spectrum of gender you're free to view it any way you like. It leans more toward that part of the spectrum where it's more about, nurturing and bringing life out from the inside, from bringing it out and up. And so the Empress, because of that energy and ability to make everything blossom, cuts through problems of communication here that we're seeing And if you focus on this part of yourself, this communication will just come all by itself naturally. It won't even stand up for a day as a barrier. And the cards, of course, remember, they suggest taking advice from someone that maybe does have a little bit more experience than you, and to not ignore that advice. But the big one is don't ignore this part of yourself, the Empress. Bringer of life, makes everything better around this Empress person. Okay, so he's older than you and gives a protective vibe over you. That's totally fine. But still, don't forget the power that you have. That undeniable force of life, and you support it. The Empress is very good at family also. She makes people feel better just by sitting in her chair. Where that's her chair, that's her that's her throne in the garden. And when you get this card, that's the chair you belong in. That's why the card is designed this way. It's your chair. The card wants you to occupy it. Stop going the other way. Stop looking away. Take your seat where you belong and use that power. And all of these other problems. And this other person, they can be as protective as they like. Just because the Empress is powerful doesn't mean the Empress doesn't also appreciate being protected. Excuse me, doesn't mean that at all. Of course she appreciates it. We all do. Doesn't matter who we are. We just don't want to lose sight of that power we have. We don't want to ignore it, because when you do that, you start to diminish yourself. And the more you pay attention to the power, the more attractive you become to this other person. Because you're following yourself, you're being your real self. And that's always creates a more powerful union between people. When they're actually in touch with their real self. So the Empress, you really can hardly in tarot do better than to follow the spirit of the Empress. So I hope that helps with communication. And, and if this person has a protective vibe over you, people usually don't get that protective vibe or radiate that protective vibe unless they kind of like you. I mean, usually, let's be honest. Right? So. It's nice to enjoy someone's protective quality. And it's also nice not to necessarily need it. In other words, you can take care of yourself. You always have to be able to take care of yourself, but it's still great when you detect that somebody has that feeling about you, to that protective thing. And there's a balance, of course. People can become overbearing and make a big show of their protective spirit. You know, you got to be careful of that. A lot of men do that. They can get into that protective thing, and it can have actually other meanings. So protective spirit is it's a thing that has to be, you know, not overdone. You're welcome, Gigi. Yes. Shuffling. Do another spin. Go. Time for sparkling lemon. When I am done streaming this evening, I am going to make a gigantic bowl of ramen soup. The kind that you're not supposed to eat. You know, you buy it in those packets in the store. And what I do is I take a big bowl and I put I put the water in and I boil the water. But then I put the little flavor packet powder in the bowl, of course. That's where all the salt is, of course, but whatever. And then I cut like onions, like green onions, and I'll put tomato. I'll throw sliced peppers in there. Sometimes I'll throw cabbage in. And I'll put like tons of pepper and like, that lemon powder stuff, lemon pepper stuff you buy, put a bunch of that in. And then I'll take like red hot sauce and put a whole bunch of that in. And then it makes this really good soup. It's like, and those things cost like what, 25 cents for a packet? Or maybe $1. That is a cheap way to eat. The problem is it's way too much salt. I think it's even supposed to be too much salt for like a 20-year-old. But every once in a while I'll do it, and it's just so easy to do and like so good, man. And I'll eat it with chopsticks. So that's what I'm going to do after taro. But yeah, I love doing that. So yeah, Lucky Fortune Tarot is what this is. That's the deck. And this is what I'm shuffling with. This thing here. There's a tarot deck I liked called the Crow Tarot, which I've used before, where it's all crows in the cards. I like that one. What's another one? Oh, the Tarot de Marseille is what I use. This deck here, my deck is it uses the system of the Tarot de Marseille, the old deck from the 1600s. But because the system with the Tarot de Marseille is that it has the 22 majors with the pictures, and then it has the other 56. The minor cards are all symbols, number symbols. They just show like the coins, the cups, the wands, and the what's the other one? Swords. They show them symbolically. They don't have like the people and specific scenes on them like the Rider-Waite Tarot has. So my deck is modeled off of that principle from the Tarot de Marseille. Because that's my favorite way of doing tarot, the Marseille. I like the number cards to be symbolic rather than the specific scenes. Although sometimes I will read with the tarot from Rider-Waite. But I just sometimes find those little number scenes a little bit too definite. I sort of like mixing the idea of numerology in with the tarot to read those number cards. That's what you have to do. You have to have a numerological system of interpretation for the number cards. So 1 through or ace through 10 in each suit. Well, then you kind of have to know where you come down on meanings for each number. Oh, hi, knees. Yes, I started up again this evening after I've been dealing with a bunch of stuff for family, old folks and stuff for the last few months, having to take care of a bunch of stuff. And then I was like thinking, somebody came on to the Discord, to my Discord yesterday and said, what's up with the stream? And so I was like, oh yeah, don't worry. I'll be doing it. I was actually thinking yesterday, I have to do it in the next few days. And so I thought, well, why not just do it tonight? Might as well. I love doing it. And it really isn't going to distract me from the other stuff I have to do. Sometimes I panic a little bit and I'm like, okay, I have all this stuff I have to take care of. I've got to focus on that. And then I'll realize, okay, I'm focusing on it. I'm getting it done. But in the evening, I might just be sitting and watching TV anyway. And I'm feeling like, well, I have to relax. But I was like, yeah, I love doing this. So why not keep doing it instead of sitting around doing nothing thinking I need to relax, So, okay, knees, I see you in the queue. There you go. You're up. You are up. Ooh, I still have coffee left. Sometimes I find coffee to be the best thing when speaking, almost better than water. I've never figured it out. All right, Knees, go ahead and you ask me what is on your mind, and we will have the tarot ponder it. Stretch. It's important to stretch. Whoa. do my exercise while you're thinking up your question. Do some shoulder rolls. The tarot. Jim Tarot. That's my next deck. Jim Tarot. Every card is like a weightlifter doing like a different thing. Dealer's choice. Oh, so that means that kind of means a general, doesn't it? I'm going to start looking through. Since earlier in the reading, earlier in the evening, I did a guided meditation, and it was called Growing Your Own Fortune. And it was not talking about money necessarily, but growing your own fortune as in your fortune, your life, your possibilities. So maybe we can do a reading if it's dealer's choice. If you want me to pick, then how about a reading kind of talking about that, a way, something to think about, to meditate on, if you will, sort of in the next few days going forward, like how to give yourself sort of a sense that you are following a path of interest and enthusiasm and growing your fortune, growing your possibilities, opening yourself up to possibilities. Does that sound like it might work? How about that? Is that dealer's choice? Is that what you mean? That I pick? Yeah. Okay, let's go down that road then. Let's see. Let's cut this deck right here. Aha! The High Priest, the 5 swords, sticks. Okay. And we're talking here about finding a path to take to sort of grow the possibilities and have some enthusiasm. Find something that kind of catches our interest, just sort of where to go and what to sort of point at it just in the next little while, just in the next few days or week or so. Okay. And we get the High Priest initially right up at the top. This is like the main point of the reading. And that is to listen, to learn. Advice. The High Priest teaches and kind of falls back on tradition. Might be an older person, might be somebody wise, older than you. Sometimes they represent parent or grandparent or anyone, or teacher or anything like that. And the reading says this is an important thing at the moment, this learning, this education, this following of advice and instruction. There's a lot to be learned. And this is a major card. This is one of the 22 majors. And so it's talking about following that deeply ingrained part of you that seeks to know more, that wants to understand and learn. It can sometimes indicate that you are that person. You are that leader, that teacher. The main idea is whatever in life at the moment is attached to the idea of learning, taking advice, giving advice, belief, understanding, tradition. In other words, this sort of fundamental security of things that are dependable, traditional, that people have relied upon for. This can be a form of organized religion. It can be that. It tends to be more organized than another card like the High Priestess. It has more structure. So it wants to suggest that you follow structure, advice, and lean toward this concept of paying attention, listening, and learning and growing. That's what this High Priest is mainly suggesting in the next little while. Fall back on that part of you that is centered around the concept of learning. Now on the left, something that's kind of under there, influencing under the surface, some part of you that maybe is full of some doubt. You have the Page of Swords upside down, reversed. The page, with the water bottle there, the page is all about being young, being new, not understanding everything, having a lot to learn. And the card being upside down is saying, don't ignore that learning. You see, these two cards are playing together. This card is talking about learning and taking advice, taking pointers. And this card is talking about how you may have lost touch with being enthusiastic about that kind of thinking, that kind of learning. Don't lose it. Don't lose the sense of being the humble, new learning person. The person that has a great deal of enthusiasm and wants to learn and follows their heart and learns what really interests them. And don't worry about that. And don't get caught up in trying to be, perfect, trying to always think in the right way. Let the more sort of unusual thoughts, ideas, maybe the more crazy ideas, give them a chance, let them breathe. And that's why it's reversed, because you may have been shying away from some of that kind of thinking. It's sort of the thinking of the new person who doesn't have all these restrictions around them and can come up with new ideas, and they seem stupidly crazy, but they can actually be really brilliant and lead this person to really sort of liven up what they're learning over here. This is more structured learning over here. And then coming up, something to pay attention to as you move forward in the next few days is the Seven of Sticks, and it's reversed. So here's the Seven of Sticks right side up. Now, sticks are all that creative energy in life, inspiration, fire, desire. You're wanting something, your passion for what it is you're doing or learning, let's say. And the seven has to do with making big strides, new developments, new realizations and understandings that lift you, that push you up. See how these sticks are all sort of focused on pushing their energy up? They elevate your viewpoint and let you see things from a different point, higher up, more clearly. And this is the application of your creative energy. So here we have more intellectual idea energy. Here we have this powerful sense of learning in a traditional, more structured environment. But here we have the fiery, passionate, crazy sticks that want to express creative things. And the card is upside down because it's saying, do not fear those instincts to be creative, because those combined with this energetic enthusiasm for new ideas and learning, if you don't restrict that, and you don't restrict your creative instincts, and you keep following the path of learning and paying attention and gaining knowledge, that will allow you to express yourself and develop properly. So, following this learning, paying attention, structured, tradition, advice, listening, take the advice from a good teacher, follow this, break through old thought processes and enjoy the new ideas. Enjoy them with enthusiasm. And while you're at that, don't forget to pursue what it is you really love, what it is you most want, your real creative drive. Don't ignore it, because it will lift you up. And that's what the hint of this card is. Don't ignore your creative energy. It's very important to combine that with your more intellectual learning capabilities. So, learning and creativity. Think about those two things as you're moving through the next week. That's what this reading is suggesting. I hope that helps in some way. Gives you a little, hey, maybe there's something that you need to study. And maybe you've been putting it off. Maybe you've had ideas of like, I don't want to get into that. That would be this. That would be this upside down page of swords talking. And the cards want you to, hey, no, actually study the thing. Study it, learn it, read that book, read it. And then this over here is like, yeah, and let it fire your ideas of creative. Let your mind go crazy, and it'll inspire you. And you can then follow that, and it'll lead interesting places as long as you don't ignore it. So there's that. And the other thing to think about here is I always look, because we all do this. We all get nervous about have certain ideas or things we have to learn. And it's, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. Do I really have to? Oh my gosh, really? Like, what if you want to become a lawyer and you've got to learn and pass the bar exam or apply to law schools? Oh my gosh, it's going to be so hard. Well, this card says, break the books open. Go to the school. Follow that path. Don't be afraid of enjoying the process. Find what makes you enthusiastic. Why did you want to become a lawyer? That's what this card is saying. And follow your own path. Be creative. Don't be afraid of that part of you that invents, that makes new things, finds the cool, interesting, creative way to be a lawyer. Don't ignore that. It's right here. It'll elevate you. It'll lift you up. It'll make all your other work that much easier and better. See, that's what tarot does. Tarot doesn't say there's a huge thunderstorm coming and the lightning bolt's going to come down and burn your hair off. It doesn't do that. It talks about how to find what's really gonna really do it for you. That's what tarot is. Tarot wants you to find what really grabs you. That's what it is. What really gets you going and inspired. That's tarot. It's not about whether or not you're going to get hit by a bus tomorrow. Mm-mm. You know, not that. You're very welcome. Cold coffee. Doesn't matter if it's cold or hot, it still does the same thing. Gives you caffeine. Even decaf has caffeine, just less of it. It's nice to come back to tarot after a little while. I always like the cards. Tarot cards become sort of like a friend, you know? They're very, you get very attached. You know, you get very attached to tarot and the whole, the way it kind of inspires. It's just what it does. It's been raining a lot here where I am. Big, massive rains of floods and all that kind of dramatic weather going on. Like all day and all night, rain. We could look at the tarot. What's going to happen? Look, I got another 7. 7 of Swords this time. Seven's a tricky number in tarot. That sort of development number, that number of inspiration, really. Sometimes there's a sort of a spiritual quality to the 7. The inspiration, has to do with development and gaining higher understanding.